Hello, today we're going to go over the PowerPoint projects. I had you previously, as an assignment, go through the tabs, page setup, borders, clip art, and font. If you haven't done this already, I would highly recommend you do those pieces first. So the goal of this particular project is to learn how to use PowerPoint as a design feature, not as a presentation tool, but as a way in which we can use to create future items that we can utilize in our classroom to create a customized experience for our learners. So I'm sure all of you have been on Teacher Pay Teachers and have been able to see the awesome resources they have available and thought, well, how do they create those, right? And while you might think, oh, spending $1 here or 50 cents there isn't a big deal, it can add up quite quickly. So if we could utilize and create our own classroom materials, we'll not only be able to save cash in our pockets, but also we'll be able to create, like I said, those customized experiences for our learners. And so in this presentation, I'll go over all of the different projects that you can choose from. Below, I've got a slideshow of a significant amount of projects created by other learners and the possibilities that creating in PowerPoint will provide for you. I do have a Pinterest page dedicated directly to these particular projects themselves, and I have them categorized. Let's see here. I've got some font ones that you can grab if you're interested. We're going to do QR codes later in the semester, some ideas for creating with PowerPoint, etc. So grab onto that if that is useful for you. The first thing you might want to consider is thinking about copyright. And we just completed a Creative Commons and copyright quizzes. And so keep in mind that we want to make sure we give citations to those people that we utilize materials. So notice the page on the right-hand side here that if I'm using materials from Teacher Pay Teachers, or I'm grabbing some fonts from a website, it is okay to utilize their theme from their download. So usually when you download clip art from Teacher Pay Teachers or other places, it will give you a link or a logo to their shop. You can certainly use just their logo. We're not looking for MLA or APA citations, so it can be like this. If they don't have a logo, certainly just utilize the URL to the website or the font in which you're utilizing, okay? And I'll give you some more examples of that as well. If you are interested in creating your own how others can utilize your pieces, because I don't talk us through how you can set up your own Teacher Pay Teacher store that is completely independent to you. But if you are interested in creating your own Teacher Pay Teacher site, you might want to take a look at some of these examples and then how to create a credits page for some advice on how to do that. So again, one of the pieces that I had asked you to watch independently is how to set up your page in PowerPoint, because we are not using the standard PowerPoint slide that comes up. We need to change the size of our page. We're going to be doing all kinds of different modifications. And so you'll need to know how to do that using this here. So I show you how to complete that within this tutorial video that I'd like you to watch. And then I also have some really cool pieces down here if you want to learn some additional basics. Okay, the next one I need you to go through is borders, clip art, and fonts. So how do you download fonts is super important, because we're not going to be able to utilize just the fonts that are in PowerPoint. You need to be able to download fonts and put them to use inside your PowerPoint. I also give you a video down here if you have an HP, how you download fonts using an HP. It's a little different than a Mac. I also show you how to use borders, clip art, and fonts all within PowerPoint once you have them downloaded, how you bring them in, and then how to start creating with them. And if you are super interested, I give you a video on how to create your own clip art. Not required, but I do know that some of you are super artsy and find that to be relaxing and creative, so I give you some ideas on how to use the shapes in PowerPoint to create your own clip art for you. So I'd encourage you to explore that if that's something you're interested in. And then how to use digital paper within PowerPoint as well. So when you look at the background, it's digital paper. This green background is all digital paper. I give you some resources because I don't want you to pay for anything. I don't want you to pay for anything at all. So on the left are borders and digital paper resources. In the middle are where I find free clip art resources. And on the right are where I find free font resources. My favorite happen to be DeFont and 1001 free fonts. There are so many within there. It's just overwhelming just to look at all the freebies. Okay, so take those into consideration before the page setup and the borders, clip art, and font before you even tackle your projects. Okay, so the project options are the following. So you are going to choose 4 of the projects to complete, any 4 of your choice. Think about how the projects you choose will provide a meaningful learning experience for your future learners. It's intended to be classroom ready. So what does that mean? That means that they must be printed, cut, if you need them colored, if they need to be laminated or painted. Each project should represent your chosen major and grade level. As an example, if you are a secondary social science major, your project will all be geared towards future courses and grade levels of middle or high school social science. They all do not have to be within one course itself. So if you're like a history major, they all don't have to be related to History 11 for 11th graders. You could scatter your projects among different standards within your major. Same with elementary. You're going to be licensed in 1st through 8th grade, so your projects could run a gamut of grade levels or content areas within 1st through 8th grade. So there's a lot of flexibility with how you might utilize these. If you'd like them to all be related, certainly, please feel free. But I want to make sure that this project is open-ended so that you have free reign on possibilities. So each page of the project will tell you specifically what supplies you need to be successful with that project. I will have supplies for you. So as we go through the projects, I will let you know the materials that I will bring to class so that you don't have to go purchase anything if you don't want to. So you can have all of my materials. You will have a slide. So there's going to be 4 PowerPoints that you're going to create, 4 separate files. Why separate files? Because each project will be set up a little bit differently. And so there are 4 submission drop boxes, 1 for each project. So you will have a slide or slides that has your design on it. You will have a slide that has credits for the fonts, clip art, and borders. You must showcase your knowledge of downloaded fonts, clip art, and borders for each of the projects. If you choose to use all PowerPoint fonts or all PowerPoint sourced clip art, you will not be granted full credit. And a slide that has a picture of your completed project. A completed project follows the directions where it has to be printed, set up, ready to go, ready for your classroom. Okay. Each one has a little bit different look and feel to what that finished project looks like, so pay attention to those particular directions. And the reason why I want a picture of your completed project is because since each of you are doing 4 projects, I don't want to be responsible for all of these projects. I'd like you guys to keep them safe and secure where you are, and by seeing a photo of the completed project, I will see that yes, you did complete it as directed. And then you will save your project, save your PowerPoint as a PDF, because saving your project as a PDF preserves the the fonts and everything exactly in the order in which you wanted it. So it almost captures it in time. So if I don't have the special font that you have downloaded and I open up your PowerPoint rather than a PDF, I will see a font family and it'll get all jumbled and messed up. So that's why I'm saying upload as a PDF. The 10 projects are as listed, and then I do have a rubric. Each page also has a rubric with it as well, and we'll go over that rubric at the end. So on the drop-down menu, the first one is a foldable. Now, some of the projects will have a tutorial on how to set up your page if it's kind of unique and easier to show you rather than explain in words. A foldable would be appropriate for any grade level and any content area. I have found that students, it doesn't matter what grade level they're in, a foldable will help them chunk information when we're taking into consideration note-taking. The supplies that are needed would be access to a printer, and it can be color or black and white. It doesn't matter. You can use color printers on campus if desired, or just black and white is fine. If you have color within, I will see those colors within your PDF. This project does not need to be laminated. Laminating sheets are certainly expensive, so think carefully about whether or not you would laminate a foldable before using it within your own classroom. So the directions for this one are to use PowerPoint, create a foldable that you could use in a lesson or unit with your future students, which provides a meaningful learning experience. It has to be classroom ready and not simplistic in nature. That you should be able to create one sheet with your foldable. You will print out your project and fold your finished project. Make sure your project has small enough margins after printing so that you're actually utilizing the most space that you can. Create a slide that has your work cited, create a slide that has a picture, and then save as a PDF. So I always include, if possible, examples of outstanding student examples. If they do not have a content area behind them, they are elementary ed. However, if they are have the major behind them, they're for secondary ed. So let's look at Miss Lindsay's project real quick. Notice her foldable is set up. She's using fonts, borders, and clip art. Her project is printed. She did choose to fill it out. You don't have to if you don't desire. And then notice her works cited. So she used this store here, must not have had a logo, so she just grabbed the link. These ones did have logos for the pictures she grabbed, and then her idea, I think, came from this FET Interactive Simulations. But these other ones she grabbed by their logo of the sites that she had utilized, and that is perfectly acceptable. Another exciting one, let's see here, Hannah Osland. Here's an elementary version. Notice the clip art, the fonts, and the borders that are utilized. And notice her resources were from here. So she got her font from Font Space called Dance Today, and they came from her base 10 blocks and borders came from Teacher Pay Teachers, and then she gave me the shop name. So a variety of different ways that you can showcase the credits. Cut-aparts are the same. I love cut-aparts as well. Another way for a note-taking strategy that would be available for any grade level and any content area. I believe I go into showcasing how to set up a 5-part cut-apart, but you certainly can cut apart as many sections or pages as you need here. It cannot be simplistic in nature using sight words, contractions, or order of operations. Really critically think how you can utilize these in a meaningful way. These are ones that do not need to be laminated. You just need access to a printer, color, or black and white in order to print your project. If you're looking for some ideas, I've got some blog pages that are associated here. And then I've got some examples. So a history ed example. This particular student, Riker, did a proclamation, Stamp Act, Boston Massacre, Boston Tea Party, Intolerable Acts, and First Continental Congress. And then on the inside had some information. And then notice her sources page is listed using links. And then let's look at an elementary ed. Miss Callie, she did 3D shapes. And printed project, a copy of it. And then her source is also just using hyperlinks. Scratch-offs are one of my favorites. These can be applicable for any grade level, any curriculum, where you want there to be a surprise result. And by that, it could be self-checking as well. You need access to a printer. This one does need a laminator with laminating sheets, Dawn dish soap, and metallic paint. This is the only project out of the entire list that needs to be laminated, unless you do a create your own project, in which case there could be opportunity for laminating there, and we'll talk about that later. I do have a laminator. I do have laminating sheets. I have the Dawn dish soap, the metallic paint. I have the mixture pieces, things that you could need for that. So don't worry, I have those materials, and I would highly recommend this project. It is a fun project, and who doesn't like to scratch something off and find the result? It cannot be a scratch and reward card later on. There are projects where you have a punch card for a reward later on. So it cannot be a scratch and earn. If you want to use your own products, I do tell you that you need 1 part Dawn dish soap with 2 parts metallic paint in order to make the mixture. I'll be there to help make the mixture as well during class. I've got some ideas for the project on the left, and then of course we have to have examples of what it looks like. So Miss Madison from Math Ed as a secondary, so we can see her use of borders that are listed here, and then she had, here they are. Underneath were answers, and then she scratched off kind of like what would you call, like a center activity or independent work. And then here's Abigail. She did one similar, let's scratch and learn, or the answers were underneath, or she had the first or second numbers hidden, and then her special things. So a variety of different ways that you can set these up, and would highly recommend. Here's a business ed. I think this was, she did vocabulary here. So a checking on vocabulary. Post-it notes are outstanding. They are customizable in a variety of different ways and in different sizes. I have Post-it notes that you can use in a variety of different sizes. If you've got some just laying around in your dorm, feel free to grab those as well. They can be lined, unlined, in any size. So this particular tutorial talks you through how to create the sticky notes and customize that within PowerPoint. You just need access to a printer, Post-it notes of 2 sides. Oops, I need to get that's for a different project. You need to create a large Post-it and a small Post-it size, and you'll see that in the examples. They must have different designs. They cannot be simplistic, so you cannot just have it be star student, good job, Mrs. Richmond's notes, or reminders. Really think about how you can use them as a tool in your classroom. Okay, so here are some ideas that might work for you, and then additional links to a blog. And then I do have some examples here. Miss Maddie did one. She was thinking about utilizing the large Post-it notes and some smaller ones that they could stick on their desk and leave there for a specific unit. And then if they were utilized, she could just replace them if they got tattered or they were moving on, or one particular student needed some assistance in one area. She could replace them on desks as needed based on the student's particular needs. Allison had a great one as well. This was more listed towards like a middle school English, if you will. She thought about utilizing vocabulary and character pieces, and her idea was to use them inside a book. So a chapter book that they would be reading, that they could use them within. And then she got real excited about the different ideas once she started going and kept going. So all right, Then we've got printing on index cards. You just need access to a printer. Index cards can be any size, lined or unlined. These also do not need to be laminated. There are some certain circumstances where students have laminated them depending upon the context in which they were utilized. So really think about if you really need them laminated or not. So you're going to use a set of index cards that you could use in a lesson. You will be printing on them. They cannot be simplistic in nature, again, using sight words, bathroom, hall pass, etc. Now is your time to be creative with these projects. You can use whatever size you want, and I do give you directions down here for how to print on note cards at VCSU's campus using our printers. Okay, so I've got some ideas for practical ways. Here's how you can set up your PowerPoint, and then I've got a lot of great examples for you. Hannah she did a fantastic job. Her idea for these, so don't panic because it's 47 pages. Her idea was to utilize these in a high school English class, obviously. And her idea was to have every student would have their own set of index cards on a binder ring, and they could take these with them as they built the vocabulary within that particular unit. And then as the unit changed, her design changed a little bit. And so every student would have these index cards with them that has the vocabulary with on the back side the definition, example, and illustration of those parts. Another idea, let's say Damiana, here's an elementary one. Her idea was to utilize it in a game-like format for students. So it had the game rules, and I have who has experience by printing on by printing on note cards. Brain breaks are a hit all the time. I don't care if you are a elementary school teacher, middle school, or high school teacher. Kids need a break. It doesn't matter how old they are, right? Maybe, especially in high school, if you get kids right after lunch, they're supercharged and energized. Maybe you need some brain breaks to kind of like bring them down to get them into the subject. Maybe you're a teacher who's teaching in a block type class, and halfway through, they get kind of sleepy. Maybe you need some brain breaks to get them up and moving and re-energized for the second half of class. So you just need access to a printer. There are many different ways that you can approach these. And so I have popsicle sticks. I have small wooden discs, and I even have rectangular ones that you can utilize. Some of you may need the laminator with laminating sheets. It depends upon how you're going to approach them. But you need to have at least 10 brain breaks. Perhaps you adhere them to wooden discs using Mod Podge, which I do have. Maybe you're going to print them and make them larger, laminate them, and put them on a 3-ring binder. Whatever it might be, I've got supplies for those pieces, however you're going to do them. Now, I do say that they should be age appropriate, so you're probably not going to have for a high school something like Go Noodle. Maybe you might do something more like a yoga pose or a dance break or things like that are more age appropriate. So make sure that you're choosing ones that are age appropriate. So here's an example of what some might look like if you're going to print them, cut them out, laminate them, and put them on a ring binder so that they're all together. Some of you, here's another example similar to that idea. Some have just put them on a popsicle stick like so, and then here are the small discs. Ashley had wanted to do discs that were calming, so she did 20 of them, depending upon what she needed from her students. And here's some larger ones. I think these are appropriate, again, for any grade level or content area when you just need a break. Newsletters, I believe, are also important for any grade level. I create newsletters for my college algebra and pre-calc class once a week. These newsletters, of course, only go to the students. They don't go to their parents, but it gives them like a checklist, very similar to the announcements that I send to our class. So what's upcoming that's due, what you can expect this week, if we've got any tests coming up, whatever it might be, any resources that you might need. Those are the things that I include in my newsletter. So you just need access to a printer. This does not need to be laminated at all. You wouldn't send laminated newsletters to your parents. That doesn't make sense. Create your 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then create your newsletter. It does not need to be filled out, so it can be just a template for the future use. So here's an example of a secondary student who actually took the newsletter in a different direction, which is okay as well. His idea was to have students create a newsletter of the time, so what it might look like in a specific time frame. Okay, elementary ones look like the following: borders, fonts, clip art. Notice that it's not filled in. It doesn't need to be filled in at all. Okay, so you can leave it very open. The idea is to have it ready for your classroom. I would recommend the locker tag, desk tag, and punch card. This is one that I feel would only be adequate for elementary. So if you are secondary, just skip this part. Students aren't sitting there. Yes, they're sitting in the same desk, but it doesn't make sense. They'll decorate their own lockers. It's not really age appropriate for high school. So if you're high school, I would avoid this particular one. But with this locker tag, desk tag, and punch card, you're going to create 3 projects. A locker tag, desk tag, and punch card all are part of one. So this is where you can make a punch card and create punch and win kind of thing for that. Here are some examples. Anna did a great one last semester. So there's her desk tag name, her locker tag, and then her punch card. Okay. Here's another one. Here was a locker tag, the desk tag, and the punch card. And if you've been subbing or you've been in practicums, I know you've probably seen these all around, right? So here's a great fun name tag, locker tag, and then punch card. The virtual classroom, this would be applicable for any content, any grade level. This is one that you're not going to be utilizing PowerPoint for. You're only going to need to utilize Google Slides. You're going to publish as a web page so that you're sharing with me the published link. And when you share this with learners, parents, and other stakeholders, once you share the link and you make updates to them, it'll be automatically published to whomever has the link, which is a really cool feature. One of the websites from earlier in the borders, clip art, and fonts is this Remove BG. That would be useful for you. I give you some examples of some virtual classrooms, and then these 2 videos show you how to set up your own virtual classroom. So again, this one is created only with Google Slides. You don't need any project supplies for this, just Google Slides. So here are some examples of a variety of them. You will include the following. So you should have a Bitmoji. If you choose, at least 10 objects and 5 clickable relevant links. So none of these are clickable. I just took screenshots of them because I had assumed that students would be utilizing them in maybe student teaching or other places. And so I took screenshots of them as they were when they submitted them. So nothing is clickable, but in Miss Sophia's, you probably could tell that if I clicked on Canvas, it would bring me to Canvas. If I clicked on Nearpod, it'd bring me to Nearpod. And she kind of highlighted a couple other items, and that was my clue that those were the things I needed to click on and go somewhere. Mr. Hubers, he was tech ed. He also did something similar. He actually just gave me hyperlinks, and then other things went to other locations. Here's Miss Sierra. She also did the idea with these clickable items, but I also could click on her stack of books here, here, and here, and it brought me to different books that they were reading in class. There are some elementary examples, such as Miss Haley here. when I clicked on history, reading, science, it brought me to videos. When I clicked on these particular books, it brought me to book trailers, etc. So there's a lot of fun ways in which you could incorporate and create your own virtual classroom that could be changed daily for your students if needed, or parents could have it, all kinds of ideas. And the last one is create your own. There's a variety of different ways you could take this particular one. As you're looking on Teacher Pay Teachers or Pinterest, there might be an idea that sparked like, hey, I could use PowerPoint to create this. And I want you to have that flexibility to create something that's not in the previous list. So the supplies needed could vary. If you're needing something that we don't have, I can certainly help you obtain that. It must showcase your knowledge of downloaded fonts, clip art, borders, etc., just like all the rest of the projects. And you have to save it as a PDF, just like the other projects. And I've got a bunch of different examples for what learners have done. It has been very common for students to create substitute binders. So Miss Madeline, here's her business ed substitute binder where it was ready to go. This wouldn't necessarily need to be laminated because we don't know what you're doing, but have it printed out, ready to go, so that when you have your own classroom, this piece is already done and you just need to fill in the blanks with what's needed. Kaylee did a birthday calendar. She was thinking, I really like the idea of you guys creating your own bulletin boards, and these would be great bulletin board creators that she did for birthdays. So you can kind of scroll through and see how each one did their own piece. Ellie is going for SPED, and her idea was a working towards card. This one was really interesting, I felt. Let's see if we had the completed project. Yeah. So each student had their own laminated board here, and she had printed off their individual goals, and their individual goals had Velcro on the end underneath of it. And so she was able to Velcro those items onto their sheet so that they could reuse the sheet based on the students' needs. We have a classroom library opportunity. We had hall passes for Miss Grace. She created some hall passes. Again, some of these may need to be laminated where she had already 3-hole punched them so that they're ready to go and hang up on her door. So take a look at other people's ideas and take them for what you feel they're worth. So here's some classroom jobs that would be useful. Think about things that you've seen in classrooms, again, during practicums, maybe subbing experiences that you feel would be useful for your class. Other things I could think of might be word walls, any things of that nature, things that you feel would be beneficial. I would recommend visiting with me first so that I can make sure that you have all the supplies that you need. And if you need anything, I can get them sooner rather than later. But the last thing we need to talk about is the rubric. This is a single point rubric, if you will, where if you meet the project objectives, you get down the middle here, and then it's really the difference between what makes A work and what makes B work ultimately. I find that students really enjoy this project, and they spend a lot of time and creativity thinking through the project. And so each project has meets the objectives and then exceeds the objectives. So what makes your project stand out from just doing the minimum needed to complete the project, right? And so each project goes over that in general. This does conclude going over all of the project directions.